Welcome back to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
So today we're doing a bit of time traveling. Well, sort of.
Right.
We're planting our feet firmly in the now, which, for our conversation, is January 26, 2026.
And we've got a massive stack of documents on the desk.
We do, all centering on one thing: Intel's Q4 2025 earnings report.
The one that, half of Silicon Valley has been holding its breath for.
Exactly. And I have to say, reading through everything, the transcript, the financials, it feels like a classic case of good news, bad news.
Oh, totally. It's enough to give you whiplash.
It really is.
It's one of those, paradoxical situations where the past looks great, but the immediate future looks, well, complicated.
Yeah.
If you just read the headlines, you'd think mission accomplished.
Yeah.
But then you dig into the guidance, the forecast for the next 3 months, and you might think, uh-oh, here we go again.
So that is our mission today. We need to unpack this paradox.
Right.
How can a company be beating expectations so handily 1 minute and then predicting a revenue dip the next? Is the turnaround working? Is the engine sputtering?
Or is this actually a sign of something completely different?
Exactly.
And spoiler alert, it's definitely something different.
Yeah.
And to understand it, we had to look at the massive transition this company's going through under CEO Liquidity.
Okay. But before we get to the scary forecasts, let's give credit where it's due.
For sure, the headline numbers for Q4 2025 were, surprisingly strong.
They really were. Revenue came in at $13.7 billion.
Right.
For context, Wall Street was expecting, $13.37 billion?
Yep, so a solid beat there.
And the profitability was even better.
Much better. Earnings per share hit 15 cents, which is nearly double the expected 8 cents.
Wow. So despite all the noise, Intel was way more profitable in late 2025 than anyone gave them credit for.
Exactly.
Okay, so pop the champagne. Right. But then
the other shoe drops, the guidance for Q1 2026.
right. They're guiding for revenue between, 11.7 and $12.7 billion.
Which is a noticeable drop from Q4, and it's definitely soft compared to what the market was hoping for. That prediction caused some serious jitters.
So let's get into the why. Why the drop? Is this a demand problem? Is it that nobody wants the chips?
No, and that's the irony. It is the exact opposite of a demand problem.
So it's supply.
It's an acute lack of supply.
Uh-huh.
Intel literally cannot physically make the chips fast enough to sell them.
Okay, we have to dig into that supply paradox because that's fascinating. But first, I want to talk about the new Intel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phrase Liquidity kept using on the call. He's been CEO for about 10 months now. Is this just corporate marketing speak, or is there real substance there?
There's definitely substance. You have to remember, Liquidity came in with this reputation as a no-nonsense operator.
The fix-it guy.
A total fix-it guy.
Yeah.
And if you look at the last 10 months, he has been aggressively cutting the fat. He talks about making Intel less bureaucratic and execution-driven.
And numbers back that up.
They do. Just look at the operating expenses, the OpEx. In 2025, they cut their OpEx by 15% compared to 2024.
15%? For a company the size of Intel, that's like turning an aircraft carrier.
It's incredibly difficult. It shows they're running a much, much tighter ship.
And that discipline must have helped the balance sheet.
Oh, yeah. They exited 2025 with $37.4 billion in cash and investments. A fortress.
That is a lot of dry powder, but where that money came from is just as interesting. I saw something in the report that made me do a double take. A $5 billion investment from NVIDIA.
I know, right? That feels like a record-scratch moment.
NVIDIA, the AI king, the company that basically snatched the semiconductor crown and ran with it. Why on earth are they writing a $5 billion check to Intel?
This is so crucial. If you're NVIDIA, you don't invest that kind of money out of charity. You do it because you need supply chain security.
So it's a vote of confidence.
It validates the new Intel strategy more than almost anything else. It says NVIDIA views Intel not just as a competitor, but as a critical partner, probably for manufacturing or advanced packaging.
So it's a signal to the rest of the market. It's like the cool kid at school vouching for you.
Precisely. It strengthens the balance sheet, sure. But more importantly, it strengthens the narrative. It says Intel's manufacturing is becoming relevant again to the biggest players in the game.
Okay, so they have the cash, they have the validation, but let's go back to that scary guidance.
Like the supply shortage.
The CFO, Dave Zinsner, used a phrase I found really interesting: hand-to-mouth manufacturing.
Yeah, that's a phrase you rarely hear from a tech giant. Usually, hand-to-mouth implies you're broke.
But that's not what it means here.
No, here it's about inventory. A company like Intel usually keeps a buffer inventory.
Like a bakery keeping extra loaves of bread in the back just in case.
Exactly. But in the second half of 2025, demand was so ferocious that Intel sold all the extra loves. They completely depleted that buffer.
So the shelves are bare.
Totally bare. Now, everything coming out of the oven or the fab is being shipped immediately. There's no cushion, and this is where the physics of this business really bites you.
You can't just flip a switch and make more factory capacity.
Not overnight.
Yeah.
So if you can't make more, you have to choose who gets what you can make.
It's Sophie's choice for silicon.
Pretty much. You have two main children to feed. The client computing group, that's your laptops and PCs, and the data center and AI group, the big servers.
And let me guess, data center is the favorite child.
It has to be. The margins are higher, and the strategic importance of AI is just too massive to ignore. So Intel is deliberately allocating those scarce wafers to the data center side.
Which leaves the PC side starving a little bit.
Exactly. They are under-shipping on the PC side relative to the actual demand, and that's why the Q1 revenue looks soft.
It's not that people aren't ordering PC chips.
It's that Intel is saying, sorry, we can't fill that order yet because this server chip takes priority.
That feels like a bold move. Taking a short-term hit on the earnings to protect that long-term relationship with the cloud giants.
It's the smart move. You can't tell Amazon or Microsoft, sorry, your AI supercomputer has to wait because we're making budget laptops. You just can't.
Now, Lip Bhutan was pretty transparent about the root cause here. He talked about yields. Can we unpack that for anyone who isn't a chip engineer?
Yeah, absolutely. So silicon manufacturing, it's basically a fight against physics, right?
Right.
You're printing these, unbelievably tiny patterns on a wafer.
Microscopic.
And if anything goes wrong, a speck of dust you can't even see, a tiny temperature change, any little flaw,
The chip is a dud.
the chip is a dud. You have to toss it. So the yield is, just the percentage of good chips you get from each wafer.
Versus the ones you have to throw in the trash.
Exactly. And Intel's yields aren't quite where they need to be yet.
So they're improving.
They are. Tan said they're seeing about 7 to 8% improvement per month. That's good progress. But he also admitted they are not quite to the industry-leading standard yet.
Which is corporate speak for, we're still throwing away more chips than we'd like.
Exactly. And that just makes the supply shortage worse.
Okay, but despite the shortage, they are shipping some amazing products. Let's talk about the PC side first. The headliner is Panther Lake.
Or the Core Ultra Series 3, if you want to be formal. This is a huge deal.
And not just because it's a fast chip.
No, it's a huge deal because of how it's made. It's built on the Intel 18A process.
18A. We've been hearing that name for years. It's been held up as this holy grail that would save the company. Why does it matter so much?
Because 18A is the moment Intel tries to retake the technology lead from TSMC. It combines two cutting-edge technologies. The first one is gate-all-around transistors.
Okay, give me the simple version.
Imagine a garden hose. An old transistor is like pinching the hose on 3 sides to stop the water. Gate-all-around pinches it from all 4 sides.
So better control.
Much better control. Less leakage, higher efficiency. And the second tech is backside power delivery.
Backside power.
Yeah. Traditionally, all the power wires are on top of the chip, mixed in with the data wires. It's a traffic jam.
Okay.
Intel 18A moves the power wires to the back of the silicon. It just cleans everything up.
And the fact that Panther Lake is shipping means the stuff actually works. It's not just a PowerPoint slide anymore.
It works. And the specs are impressive. The report mentions up to 27 hours of battery life on these new laptops.
Oh, that is wild. That's leave your charger at home for a weekend trip territory.
And a 70% graphics improvement, gen on gen. So the product's a hit. And here's the execution part of the new Intel again.
What's that?
They originally promised to have one SKU-1 version of this chip ready by the end of 2025. They delivered 3.
Under promise, over deliver. That is a nice change of pace.
It is. So the product itself, Panther Lake, is a winner.
Okay, so that's the PC side. What about the favorite child, the data center and AI group?
Growth there is accelerating and fast. Revenue was up 15% sequentially.
Just from the last quarter.
Yep. The CFO noted that's the fastest sequential growth for that segment in this entire decade.
In the decade. That really puts the AI boom into perspective.
It does. The thirst for compute is just insatiable. But Intel is also making some smart structural changes here. They centralized data center and AI under one leader to stop the internal silos. And they're simplifying the roadmap.
I always get lost in the server names, all the rapids and rivers.
They do love those. Right now, they're laser-focused on Diamond Rapids, their big beast. But the really interesting one is Coral Rapids,
Coral Rapids. Why that one?
because the customers effectively demanded it. It reintroduces multi-threading.
Wait, I thought multi-threading was standard.
It usually is. But Intel had moved away from it in some of their recent efficiency core designs to save power and space. But the big cloud customers, the AWSs, the Googles, they said, no, we absolutely need multi-threading.
Why do they care so much?
Virtualization. Multi-threading lets one physical core handle two jobs at once. It's crucial for keeping those massive servers busy and utilized. So Intel listened, and they're accelerating it.
That feels like a real culture shift, listening to the customer instead of just telling them what they should want.
Precisely. And it aligns with their broader thesis, which they're calling hybrid AI.
Hybrid AI. Okay, let's unpack that.
So right now, the model is you type a prompt, it goes to a massive data center, it burns a ton of energy, and sends an answer back.
Right.
Intel's bet, and I think it's a smart one, is that the cloud can't handle everything forever. It's too expensive, and there's not enough power on the grid.
So you have to split the work.
Exactly. Some of it happens in the cloud, but a lot of the day-to-day stuff, the inference, happens right on your device, on your Panther Lake laptop.
Which plays right into Intel's strength because there are millions of those laptops. If AI moves to the edge, Intel wins.
That's the bet.
Now, speaking of winning, there was a number in this report that I think flew under the radar, but you highlighted it, the custom ASIC business.
Oh, this is the hidden gem. This is the sleeper hit of the whole report.
Okay, first, what's an ASIC?
Application-specific integrated circuit. So think of a regular Intel chip like a Swiss Army knife. It can do everything. An ASIC is when a company like Google or Meta says, I don't need a knife. I need a pair of scissors that cuts this one specific thing really, really fast.
So they hire Intel to build that custom pair of scissors.
Exactly. A chip designed for one specific AI task. And that business is just exploding. It grew more than 50% in 2025.
50%.
And in Q4 alone, it hit an annualized revenue run rate of over $1 billion.
From basically zero to $1 billion business in a flash.
Very quickly. And the CFO, Dave Zinsner, thinks this is just base camp. He sees a $100 billion market there.
$100 billion, that's massive.
It is. And it connects to another area that sounds boring but is super lucrative, advanced packaging.
Packaging, it sounds like cardboard boxes and shipping tape.
I know, it's terrible branding. But in semiconductors, packaging is the new frontier. It's not about the box. It's about how you stitch different little chips together.
Because chips are getting too big to make in one piece, right?
Exactly. You can't print a massive AI brain on one piece of silicon. You have to print it in little pieces, they call them chiplets or tiles, and then glue them together so perfectly that they act like one giant brain.
And Intel has a special way to do that.
They have EIB-embedded multi-die interconnect bridge. It's this tiny silicon bridge that connects the tiles. And Intel is a world leader in this.
And this is becoming a big revenue driver.
Huge. The report mentions that packaging deals alone are starting to look like they'll be north of $1 billion.
Wow.
Lip Bhutan even said some customers are so desperate for this packaging capacity that they're willing to prepay for subscriptions.
A subscription to a factory, that is unheard of.
It shows the leverage Intel has. Even if a customer uses a competitor to make the chip, they might still need Intel to package it.
It's a strategic choke point.
A very valuable one.
Okay, so we have the PC business fighting supply. We have the data center growing. We have this new ASIC and packaging business booming. But the elephant in the room is always the foundry.
Right. Intel's plan to become the manufacturing shop for the world.
Competing directly with TSMC, how is that going?
It's a game of two nodes, 18A, which we talked about, and the future one, 14A.
So 18A is shipping now in Panther Lake. What's the status of 14A?
14A development is on track. They just released the PDK 0.5 process design kit. Think of it as the instruction manual for the manufacturing process. By releasing it, they're letting external customers start designing their future chips using Intel's 14A rules right now.
But are they actually building the factories for it yet?
And this is where Lip Bhutan's discipline really shines. The old Intel might have built the factory shell hoping customers would come. Tan said explicitly, no.
And customer, no concrete.
Exactly. He is refusing to spend the capex on building the shells until he has firm customer commitments, which he expects in the second half of 2026.
That feels very prudent, de-risks the whole thing.
Yeah, it does. And speaking of spending, their capex for 2026 will be flat or slightly down. But the mix is changing significantly.
How so?
Less money on space buildings, concrete, more money on tools, the actual machines that make the chips.
Which makes total sense if your problem is you can't make enough chips. You don't need a building, you need the machine that goes in the building.
Exactly. They are pivoting their wallet to solve the immediate problem.
Okay, so let's zoom out. We've looked at the financials, the products, the supply constraints, the strategy. What does this all mean for you, the listener? If you're watching Intel in 2026, what's the narrative?
The narrative is transition under tension. 2026 is clearly a bridge year. They have the technology, 18A is real, they have the demand, everyone wants their chips, but they're fighting their own physical limitations. They just can't manufacture fast enough.
It feels like they're finally turning this massive ship, but the engine is sputtering a little because the fuel line is clogged.
That's a great analogy. The key takeaway for anyone listening is to watch the second half of 2026.
Why the second half?
That's when two things should happen. One, the supply constraints should ease as the new tools come online. Two, and this is critical, that's when we expect announcements about external customers signing up for 14A.
Foundry customers.
Right. If Intel announces that a big name, a hyperscaler, a mobile giant, has signed on the dotted line, that validates the entire turnaround.
So Q1 is going to be bumpy, Q2 might be a grind, but the fireworks are scheduled for Q3 and Q4.
That's what the timeline suggests.
It's fascinating. You look at Intel, and for a while, people wrote them off. Dinosaurs, they said. But this report, seeing NVIDIA invest, seeing these $100 billion markets, it doesn't feel like a dinosaur. It feels like a sleeping giant that's just waking up and realizing it's hungry.
A hungry giant that just ran out of bread in the pantry.
Exactly. They need to bake faster.
They do.
So here's a final thought for everyone to mull over. We established that Intel is deliberately turning away PC business revenue they could have today to feed the data center beast, all because they physically cannot make chips fast enough. So, does the current stock price, which reacted nervously to that soft guidance, reflect a company in trouble? Or does it reflect a company sitting on a gold mine of demand that it is just about to unlock?
That is the billion-dollar question. If they can fix the plumbing, the water is waiting to flow.
And we will be watching the second half of 2026 very closely to see if those pipes open up. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.